Hello everybody, thanks so much for joining me today for another episode of Erica Shmerica Reality Recap. Today we're going to be talking about 90 Day Fiancé, The Other Way, TOE as I like to call it, Season 4, Episode 4. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to like and subscribe to my new YouTube channel and go ahead and hit that notification bell to make sure you get notified about all the new videos I'm going to be posting. Let's get started. First up today are Corey and Evelyn, or as I lovingly refer to her as Evil One. Evelyn is still sitting in the bridal shop wearing her 80s Madonna dress with her two sisters who look like they're 15 years old, discussing the fact that she and Corey are actually already married. They got married in secret last year. So no one in Evelyn's family knew about this because she just figured, since she doesn't really like Corey that much anyway, if things went south, she would just go ahead and quietly divorce him without having to deal with too much judgment from the family Evelyn. So her sisters were obviously mad, really pissed off, couldn't even understand why she would marry Corey because they really hate him, but also she really hates him. So it was very confusing all around. The sisters had the same charming, bubbly, happy personalities that Evelyn seemed to have, and that was that. Then they went over and took Corey out for lunch at some kind of seafood market type of place where they kept laughing and saying, "Oh, we have a special soup for you, ha ha ha." It was really stupid. Clearly they're in middle school, and they fed Corey some kind of soup made out of some kind of creature's balls. I don't even know. Something about a crab. I didn't know crabs had balls. It's fine. Whatever it was gross, it was stupid, but it's actually an insult to make us watch this. It was so bad. It was so scripted, poorly scripted at that, and it was ridiculous that they had this whole storyline. Anyway, Corey didn't even seem too bothered by his ball soup, and then in his best ball breath, he just asked them, do you have problems with me or something? What's going on? Why didn't you like me? And anyway, the sisters, Evelyn, confessed that they knew about his Peruvian girlfriend, Jenny, who is now in India. Anyway, and that they actually knew about the secret winning a Mr. Popularity contest in Ingabao anytime soon. Then we had Steven and Elena, speaking of 15-year-olds. Steven, was heading on the airplane, heading off to Turkey to meet up with Elena. And basically, kind of like they did with Ellie a few weeks ago, they just showed him going to the airport terminal. Now he's eating airline food, and now it's just a waste of time. Okay, we get it. He's traveling. So then he gets to Turkey with his hair flowing in the breeze. Elena, she headed out, and they showed her in Russia with her mother, saying goodbye to her grandmother. And her mother was just now finding out that Elena and Steven were actually not going to be staying in the same location, that Steven was going to be staying separately in his hostel. So her mother was really upset because she just worried about her daughter's safety, thinking that Steven was the one who was going to keep her daughter safe, when I'm pretty sure she's met Steven before and saw that he has, the build of Gumby. So I don't know why she thinks that this is her, natural protector here. But anyway, she's worried about her daughter. She's worried about the entire situation. So Elena finally gets to Turkey, and she and Steven meet up at the airport, and they have this big happy reunion. They're awkwardly making out. And then they head in the cab back to the apartment where Elena was to be staying. And in the cab, Elena tried to lay down the law and tell Steven, "No, you are staying in the apartment with me. You're not staying somewhere else. We can, sleep separately if you need to." And Steven seemed a little hesitant. They had some awkward moments at the apartment where they were awkwardly touching each other and trying to kiss each other, and he was taking her shoes off. I don't even know. What is the point of this couple? Can somebody tell me? I feel like now we're watching a teen saga on Netflix that I would have passed up a long time ago. I don't really understand why we're watching them. We have asked for better couples, and this is what we get. Anyway, so Steven said some kind of crazy word, skittily poop or something. I don't even know. I could barely pay attention, to be quite honest. But, he wanted to make sure that he and Elena were not going to do anything that would jeopardize her baptism into the Mormon faith. So they slept separately. He slept on the couch. She slept in the bed. And then the next day they went to go view the hostel where he was to be staying for the rest of the time that they were in Turkey. So Elena walked over there, and while they're on the way over there, he saw a random pool. And just because he's Mr. Wacky, skiddly poop, whatever the hell that means. He jumps in the pool with his clothes because I think maybe Steven has a few impulse issues. So after that, he gets out all wet. That was totally pointless. And they walked over to the hostel, which was very like hipster, reminded me of something you would see in Brooklyn. And, he was excited about staying there. And Elena was having none of it. Not only because she's worried about her safety because she's very attractive, as she claimed, but also because she's afraid he's going to be meeting some other weirdo hipster girls at this probably bedbug ridden hostel. So, she lays down the law. She says no, and it looks like Steven may give in to stay at the apartment with her. Do we care? Not really. Next, we had Team Carmando. That is Kenny and Armando. That's their celebrity name. So Carmando headed out to San Felipe, which is where Armando is from, and they had Kenny's daughter Cassidy in the car with them, along with little Hannah and Princess Truffles. I think their whole segment should just be like Truffles sitting in grass, Truffles sitting on a bed. It would be far more interesting. Anyway, so Team Carmando is headed over to see Armando's family to all have a little reunion of sorts, and they're excited to tell him about the big wedding, but Armando's a little bit nervous because his dad was not so keen on their mano-a-mano relationship, So anyway, they sit down. Armando's father completely surprised everybody when he greeted everybody warmly with a big hug, and he sat down at the dinner table, and Armando's mom didn't even have to lie and be like, oh, your father's at the store. No, he was actually there. I think she might have said that anyway because she's like used to saying it at this point, but he actually was there, and he was nice, and he hugged Kenny. Anyway, they had dinner. Things were going well. Kenny got a little emotional talking about his kids and how much he missed them. But then Armando, since it went so well, he was kind of dragging his feet, trying to tell him about the wedding because he was nervous. He wanted to go at baby steps. Anyway, so eventually Kenny encouraged Armando, this is why we're here. Go ahead and talk to him. And they did sit down and talk. And Armando's dad didn't like freak out or anything, but he wasn't RSVPing just yet. He's accepting this in his own time. He's not ready to like wear rainbow hot pants in South Beach at the moment, but he is taking the necessary steps to acceptance, and that's the most important thing. And I think Armando did appreciate that, and hopefully he will, RSVP with pollo or pescado. If Kenny's listening, that's chicken or fish for the wedding. As Kenny still doesn't understand Spanish. Then we had Ariella and Binyam. So Leandro, Ariella's ex-husband, still is in town, although Binyam is not so thrilled. But Ariella and Leandro go out for lunch together, and they're still talking about their past relationship and tying up some loose ends. Anyway, Leandro questions if Ariella is actually really happy in Ethiopia and happy in her relationship, which she does say that she loves Binyam very much, but, he's out playing the butt bongos a lot, and he doesn't always communicate with her, which was a big issue. But she claims that she loves living in Ethiopia and that she thinks it's a great place to raise a family. And that's probably because we found out that she's paying $200 a month for live-in childcare, which now I'm considering moving to Ethiopia. Anyway, later on in the episode, Ariella, Leandro, and Binyam go to his family's house to celebrate an Ethiopian holiday that I'm probably going to mispronounce. Bui? They said it on the episode. And they always have their voices go up at the end. Bui? Probably is how you would say it. Not sure. In any case, it reminded me of one of my favorite episodes, Beach Day from The Office, where Michael Scott and the whole gang were jumping over a fire. They did like a coal walk. They were having like almost like a survivor night. So that's kind of what this holiday was. There was a big fire and everybody took turns jumping over it. Personally, that'd be terrifying. But you know what? They look like they were having fun. Anyway, so during this holiday celebration, Binyam's sisters, who are always having their noses in their business, went ahead and questioned Leandro about what happened when Ariella was 5 months pregnant, staying in New Jersey in the same apartment as him. Leandro is like kind of an expert at dodging these, tough questions. He's kind of like, you don't have to worry about anything that happened. Never really answers yes or no, one way or the other. So anyway, the sisters, kept badgering him. Then they moved on to Ariella and they were asking, we don't want you taking the baby and leaving like his ex did. His ex. They mention this every single time. And finally, Ariella just gets up and said, I had enough, and leaves. Later on, it was the next day, and Leandro was ready to head back to the United States. Biniam was like ready to throw a party about this. And they went to the airport to see him off. Ariel was like hugging on to him for dear life as they were saying goodbye. She even kissed him right in front of Biniam. And then they went back to the house where Binny was like confessing how much he loves and how much he loves Ariella and the baby and how much they mean to him and how he's going to really, really work harder at communicating better when he's out all night with the butt bongos. It looks like next week we're going to see her taking some kind of outdoors cold shower with a random naked woman. I'm really excited to see what the hell that's all about. Speaking of cold showers, Ellie of Ellie and Victor was in San Andreas, the neighboring island of Providencia, where she was getting ready to take a boat over to Providencia to see, where Victor could be. I don't know if her plan was to just like walk around yelling Victor and seeing, if she could find him. I'm not really sure where she was going with that. However, she couldn't really get in touch with him. She was really worried after he survived the Category 5 hurricane, and she had planned to head over there with some supplies to try and help and make sure he was okay. However, while she was in the souvenir shop getting like 1,000 like I love San Andreas t-shirts to bring to all of the hurricane survivors, she gets a phone call from Victor himself that he survived, and he actually got a plane off of the island and made it to San Andreas, and she should come pick him up at the airport. So she was delighted. Didn't even have time to style her boingy hair. She just like ran right over to the airport to pick Victor up and like couldn't believe what she was seeing. She was so worried. She thought something had happened to him. And the two had like a nice little, emotional reunion of sorts. It had been like 8 months, a cheating scandal, a pandemic, and a hurricane. Anyway, it was so nice of Victor to have made it out of harm's way after describing the horrible event that he just went through, where he, his mother, and some kids, nieces, nephews, or his own kid, were all hiding under the kitchen sink for safety during the storm. Meanwhile, he left them all behind to go see Ellie on an island and sleep in an air-conditioned hotel room. Let's put all that aside. At least he's safe. So it looks like next week the two are going to head over to Providencia to assess the damage, and then, maybe a little risk assessment to see if it's worth moving to, giving up her pizza restaurant and her nice, comfortable life to move to this island that is now completely demolished by the hurricane. I'm going to go with pizza. Pizza every time. Last and certainly least are Jenny and Sumi. Smee. Choose your own adventure. Anyway, so my favorite part of their segment is always the beginning, where they show the really fun looking animals that live in India and climb amongst all the wires, like all those little monkeys. They kept panning to this one monkey in particular with very, very droopy boobs. She looked like the elder of the monkey tribe. And I'm thinking that like the local people in India, they really revere this elder monkey with the droopy boobs, and they call her Jenny. So anyway, human Jenny and Sumi were discussing Sumit's lost passport that his in-laws had taken from him and held hostage. Now, meanwhile, that whole brush with the in-laws was well over, a year, 2 years ago? The guy didn't think about trying to, replace his passport at any point, because that would be too easy. So anyway, Jenny's now encouraging him. He has to be more ambitious. He has to take the bull by the horns. And in saying that, she enables him by making an appointment at a local official office to ask what would be needed to renew this passport. Because now if Smee, Mike Jones has a passport, he and Jenny can actually go to a neighboring country, so Jenny can renew her tourist visa instead of Jenny flying all the way back to the US, and she's got to wear the compression socks. It's not very comfortable. So you know what? This is a better idea. So of course he could just marry her, and then that would, really ease things along. But he's not so into that. She's just a side piece for life. So anyway, they go over to this official building. They meet up with some guy who's very serious, wearing a very official hat. And, he basically tells them it takes 1 month. 1 month. This probably all happened 2 years ago. 1 month. So great news. Now he's going to have to come up with a new stall tactic to get Jenny off his back. but she's already on him. She's already saying, this Harry Krishner scam didn't work. She's always crying about the whole marriage thing. She's like, Sumi, please, we're in love. It's like too much, Jenny, please. So I think for next week, we should just follow around Monkey Jenny and see what she does all day. And I think the chances of Smith marrying Monkey Jenny are probably a little better. Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Erica Shmerica Reality Recaps. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and go ahead and hit that notification bell to make sure you get notified about all new videos I'll be posting. Bye guys!